Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Your Business podcast. I'm super excited today to be chatting with Toni Julian, who is an intuitive leadership and essential wellness coach, author, and founder of Soul Potential Institute. She helps visionary women in corporate teams elevate their impact through radical self care, emotional intelligence, and energetic alignment. She is deeply committed to reshaping how we lead from model of overdrive and burnout to one rooted in coherence, vitality, and heart. Oh, I love that. You're speaking my
Ah,
language. Welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you here today.
oh, thank you so much, Amy. I am just so delighted, and I know that we have so much in common and so much in alignment with each other. So I'm excited to start our conversation.
Yes, absolutely. And I know we were connected through Rennie, a mutual friend as well. So she's just such a sweetheart. So shout out to Rennie for connecting us as well, too.
Yes, thank you, Rennie,
Yes. So
for
for
sure.
our listeners, can you share a little bit? How did you get started on this entrepreneurial journey? Like, I know you've built eight amazing businesses, but like, where did it kind of start from?
Where did it start? It started with my dislike of corporations that were so rooted in the patriarchy. Quite frankly.
Yes.
Yeah, so, I think I've always had this spirit, and it's the spirit of really wanting to create and wanting to learn and wanting to shift and grow. That to me is my essence. And so, I went through college, I did all the right things, got my degree. It took me 7 years to get my degree because I put myself through and didn't have any money and didn't have parental support, and just it was just a hard beginning. And I started out doing just some design work, some t-shirt illustrations, and I ended up after college at National Semiconductor. Big company, thousands of
Yeah.
employees, and very male dominated. And this was in the 80s. So women did really not have much of a role there. And I spent 5 years, and it was a fabulous experience. And what I noticed, though, that there really were very few women in management, and it was difficult being there. Inequities in pay and
Yeah.
diversity and all those things that we really love right now, that we fight for, right? That we
Yes.
that we stand behind. And the turning point was when I had my first child. I was 28 years old, and they said I needed to be back in 6 weeks. And I'm like, that's just not enough time. I really need just maybe a couple of months, 8 weeks, 12 weeks. Well, when I came
Yeah.
back, my office was gone. I had a beautiful window office. The office was gone. My position was gone. They just totally just evaporated everything. They uh, just demoted me in terms of physically at the location. They gave me a terrible little office. They didn't even have a job for me. And here I came back to like nothing. And I always was such a diligent worker and such a team player and always on board
Yeah.
with everything. And I thought, that is just so indicative of the lack of respect that I knew that I deserved. And
Yes.
so I thought, forget this. I just knew if I am going to wake up every day and I'm going to commute to work and I'm going to dedicate 40, 50 hours a week, whatever it turns out to be that week, then I'm going to make it count for me. And when I
Yes.
say for me, I mean everybody else that I want to up level.
Yeah.
But it was like, I'm going to get the credit. I'm not going to let my boss take the credit and their boss take the credit. And
Right.
it just wasn't, it was a great snapshot into the kind of environment that is dysfunctional in today's time.
Yes.
Right. And that's what got me started on developing my businesses. It was just such a, this is what I don't want.
Absolutely. And kind of like we were
Right.
sharing a little bit before we got recording here was it sometimes we have to figure out what we don't want and what's not working to figure out what we do want and start to create that in our life for sure. Well, and the fact
Yes.
that you're being like almost punished for like having a child, like it's ridiculous, the
That's
type of
exactly
culture and
right.
environment. Yeah. So what was kind of the first so did you like right away kind of start off with the business and just like leave right away, or were you kind of building it on the side as you were still working there, or what kind of transpired from that?
Right. Well, I always had. kind of on the side doing graphic design and art. That was like one of my first big things. I was
Yeah.
in college developing people's business cards, things like that. So I was always doing that. But the first kind of foray was into this one gentleman that worked at this company. He was doing trade shows as a consultant for National. And his name was Frank Court, and he was this lovely, lovely man. And he went off to start a business, and I ultimately joined him as his kind of second in place to help run the business. And it was creating large conferences. And he just did not have what it took. It was
Yeah.
a very short run of about a year. And I found myself without any money with an infant. I think she was
Yeah.
maybe a year old at the time. My husband and I had no money to pay our mortgage for the next month. We had nothing. And so I created this big tree. I drew this
Yes.
tree
I
and I drew,
love
okay,
that
if I
image.
go off in this direction and I build my own business, this is what I'd call it. And da 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 da. And if I do this, then it means this. And so I created this visual for myself of all the different branches and the ways that I could go that I envisioned. And I decided I would create a business, and I called it Four Star Communications. It was a marketing communications firm. And the cool thing about it was this was like my biggest signature win is that I created it out of nothing. I had no money, as I mentioned, to pay
Yeah.
for anything. And I just thought, okay, where can I be of service to companies? And I thought, I've got this Marcom background. I didn't know how to manage trade shows. So, but I knew I attended many of them. I managed them and I hired this other
Yeah.
gentleman, Frank. And so I just thought, I can manage trade shows. I can do events. So I wrote the vice president of marketing communications, the nicest man. And I said, look, I am starting my own business. Would you happen to have any trade shows that you could have me coordinate for you?
Yeah.
And he said he wrote, this is in the days where you wrote letters and you
Yes.
mailed them.
So like the
Oh my gosh.
anticipation of waiting for that letter to come back compared to now, like 30 seconds later, you get an email.
I know.
Yeah.
And what was so great is I think I just released it into the universe. I didn't even
Yes.
expect a letter back. He personally wrote me back. He said, Tony, you would do a good job no matter what it is that you would do, because he saw me work for 5 years there. And he
Yes.
said, here's a year's worth of trade shows. He handed me $100,000 contract. This was in like
Wow.
1991. And here's a contract, and I created this whole system around trade show program management. And I think what made it successful is that my just meticulous attention to detail, coming in on budget, managing everything, and but that it was also ahead of its time because at that time there were only trade show like inside consultants. There weren't
Yes.
companies doing this. So I said,
Right.
here's a Gantt chart. We'll do this for you. We'll manage your budget. We'll do all the creative, and it was just so fun. And I built that up within a few short years to be in the top 5% of all income earning entrepreneurial women in the United States at that time. And I was a single mom. I had a 5-year-old daughter. I then became married during that time and
Yeah.
inherited two more kids. And then we had one together. So it was during this time of
There's
four
a lot
kids.
happening. Yeah.
There were a lot of moving parts, but
Yeah.
I look back, and that was one of my first very successful businesses. And I look back and I'm just so proud of that because I think if I can do that, anybody can do that, right? Um,
Absolutely.
and
And
although
it
it took its toll on me, I mean, from a health perspective as a woman,
Right.
right?
And I think that also probably has been leading you to like where you're sharing now around like how wellness in your business is so important because you are seeing people leading to burnout and that, go, go, go tenacity all the time. And then we're putting ourselves to the side. So can you maybe share a little
Oh,
bit more about that? Because I'm sure it sounds like you've experienced it as well as also like that's something that you support people through too.
oh, exactly. And that's really genuinely like the best question because women do this whether they own their business or whether they're working and leading a team, or they're whether they're in a large business, a small business. We tend to forget that we are the ecosystem of that business, right?
Yes.
And so if we tend to neglect that, that's to me the biggest sin because we're so busy. We're just kind of programmed in our society to be everything to everybody, and we're taught to um, hold down a job and have the
Yep.
kids and do all
And
these
hold the
things.
house down and everything. Like we're multitasking
Yes,
all aspects of our life and business.
exactly. And in that, we were never raised with the emotional intelligence about how to manage that, how to choose partners that
Yes.
support equality in that marriage and a
Yep.
balance of those responsibilities.
Yep.
And so it does it's and I was in that trap as well. You're raised to go to college, get married, have children, and then if you have a business you're expected to do that all very seamlessly. And I was just, even though things went really well, I was just kind of burnt. My immune system was
Yep.
terrible. I was 48 years old when this occurred, but I ended up
Yeah.
getting sick. I had early stage pre-cervical, very aggressive cancer.
Yeah.
And so I had surgery and I was great, but I had a dear friend and she was also 48 and she had pancreatic cancer. And so, and she passed, of course, there's really no cure for stage
Sure.
4 pancreatic
Yeah.
cancer. And that was really devastating, and it shook me, and it just really, it was like God slapping me upside the head like, you know this isn't working. And so I
Yep.
realized, we are that ecosystem, and we do have to take impeccable care of ourselves, radical care of ourselves, and then how that's so closely tied to the wellness of our businesses.
Yes. Well,
Because
yeah, and I think some people think like, okay, caring for myself is like, I'll book in that massage once a month, right? Like,
right, right.
I think there's that like perceived notion that like that's what it means to like care for yourself. But can you really maybe dig in more of like, what are some things that you had to do to really like start to implement that for your own wealth and health of your business and your life?
Absolutely. I think if we look at this, and I know you do already, but
Yeah.
for all of you that are listening right now, if
Yeah.
we look at this as holistic, that means we're not just the body, it's not just the trappings of what looks like we're taking care of
Yep.
ourselves. And everybody's different. So what might fill one woman's cup is not going to fill another's.
Yes.
So it's holistic being that it's mind, body, spirit. It's you it to me, I became a nutritionist because of this, and
Okay.
also a personal trainer.
Yes.
So I started out with the physical, and if that's where people need to start there.
Yep.
But it's like eating balanced macros. I wrote a book called Sacred Eating, which describes a whole healthy eating plan, which was channeled to me, by the way. A whole healthy eating plan that's color coded. So it's so simple. And, once you get it, you don't have to weigh and measure things, but it's just a
Right.
way
And
of
I think that's
eating.
what people think it overcomplicated, right? Where it sounds like you've really
Yeah.
simplified it for people.
It's so simple, and it's such a minimal investment for a way of eating for the rest of our lives that is so sustainable and makes us feel good and gives us the energy and helps us maintain a healthy weight balance, whatever that looks like for
Yes.
people. So there's that aspect of the eating healthy, which I had totally dialed in. There's the fitness aspect, which helps us manage our hormones, which is important at any age.
Yep.
And the thing is that if we look at this from a holistic standpoint, it's, when we eat well, then we feel like exercising. We have
Yep.
the energy, we think clearly. And when we're working out and doing exercise, whether it's hiking or dancing or yoga or whatever it is, then we get this balance of the eating well and the fitness, and then we sleep really well. And when we
Yes.
have kind of these basics in place, then we're able to de-stress. We're able to manage situations with ease and with grace and without struggle and overwhelm and getting into this spiral of um, dis-ease, right?
Yes.
And there's so much more to that. There's like being in the highest state of joy that we can be in.
Yeah.
There's our emotional well-being. There's so many aspects to it, but if I would say if people want to look at one place to start, just up level your food quality. Maybe start with my sacred eating book, which makes it really
Yes.
easy. And I'm not here to sell books. Like I
No,
wrote
but
this
no.
to be a service, right?
Yes, absolutely.
But the food is so important, and I would say sleep is the most important thing because when we're not sleeping properly, we get up, we are looking to self-medicate in a way. So we're going to look for sugary foods, carbs,
Yes.
anything that's easy that boosts our blood sugar quickly because
Yep.
that's our natural inclination to do that, right? So it's all integrated. So if we can just look at it like don't get overwhelmed. Start with one thing, change that one thing or shift it. If it's a bad habit or, maybe an undermining habit, just shift
Yep.
that one thing and then getting outside in nature also, just connecting with earth and with the energies of the earth is very grounding and healing as well. So I would say those are
Yes.
the one place to start.
No, absolutely. Those are wonderful tips too. So thank you for sharing those as well. I think too, one of the questions I have is around we are in that hustle culture that's really starting to shift now to get out of that and, be more in alignment and in tune with like your values and what you're wanting. But for somebody who is used to like it being glorified of like you need to hustle, you need to be productive and do all of that. So like what are ways that people can start to support their energy instead of it being drained all the time with that type of like culture?
That's a good one. The one of the best things I've ever done, Amy, is I drove over to the coast a while ago, maybe 10 years ago, and I booked 2 nights there, which I would never do. And I went by myself and I just sat with myself. And it was to get away from everything, it was to quiet all the noise around me. And I
Yes.
realized that when I was there and I was at the ocean and I was taking walks and I was grounded, that I could hear myself. I could tap into my own authenticity. I could tap into my own intuition. And that's where my spiritual journey began to start is like
Yeah.
everything around us is so distracting and it can be
Yes.
so stressful. And so allowing ourselves that time, that self-care, and to go back to your question about self-care is it doesn't have to be 2 days at the beach. It can be
Yeah.
10 minutes of just going outside and just making being conscious of our energy. Number one, we have to know we
Yes.
have it.
That's a very good point. Yes.
We also need to be aware that we carry other people's energy. Some of our thoughts may not even be our own. So to release that and it's programming. I'm an empath. You probably are
I
too,
am as
very
yep.
sensitive. Then we both know. And for those of you who are listening, if you feel like you get overwhelmed a lot and we can't help but tap into the collective energy of what's going on around us. And you're in Canada, I'm in California in the United States. And in the US, there's a lot of really heavy stuff going on right now. And so it's taking even more awareness and kind of discipline to be able to step into this place of really being conscious and aware. And I
And almost
went,
protecting of your energy. Sorry to interrupt, like even
yeah,
protecting
no,
your
yes.
energy like around that as well too. Sorry, you were saying and then you
I
went
do. Yeah. So, and I do protect my own energy every day. And then at the end of every evening, I have a ritual, a routine where I release everybody's energy, and
yeah,
I don't judge as positive or negative. It's not mine. Right. So
yeah.
we're tapping into all this, the energy of the collective. And a lot of us don't even know it. And so it's like wearing all black and then walking into a room full of white cats. You can't
Yes.
help but get fur all over
Oh,
you and
yes.
we don't see it. We feel it. We might feel heavy or all of a sudden, we're in a great mood and all of a sudden we're not in a great mood. We're starting to feel all this. And so I'm sure you have your own practices too, right?
I do. Oh yeah, I've do Reiki on myself before bed. Sometimes I'll do even like a bit of cord cutting as well
Yeah.
too, or I'll
Hmm.
just even go to like a salt lamp and like put my hands on and be like I'm releasing what is no longer serving me. I'm releasing what's not mine kind of thing and then I like put it out into the specs into the universe kind of thing. And yeah, I know we've
Yeah,
all got our little tips and tricks to, because it's you bring up a good point. Like whether you realize it or not, you're absorbing the energy, the thoughts, and sometimes you're so lacking awareness that you're even doing it until you kind of have this conscious awareness of like, oh my gosh, when did this belief come in? When did this thought come in? And I've now attached it to myself and I no longer want to have that thought or belief.
exactly. I have a women's group and it's called Sparkle On. It's a collaborative, and we did dive into those types of things. And one of the recent sessions that I was leading is the concept of fear and love. And
Yes.
it was prompted by a book called Conversations with God. I don't know if you've ever read that, but
I
it's a
haven't, but it would
trilogy.
be, yeah,
Highly recommend it. Whether someone is religious or spiritual or doesn't have a clue,
yeah,
I would suggest reading this book. It's at least I'm through most of the first of the three.
yeah,
And what's so amazing, it talks about, we always hear about this, this programming, and we need to figure out our negative self-talk, and we're like, that's all
yeah.
great, but how do you
How do
get
you
to
do
that?
that? I think that's
How do you
the
get to that?
yes.
Yes, and so in this sisterhood, I went through this. I have this worksheet, and I said, all right, I want everybody just to think about something that they tell themselves. And then there's what's called, and in this book, it's called a sponsoring thought. So it's what's the thought or the belief that's behind this
Be-
this feeling or this thought or
Yeah.
this belief system, and it eventually we bring it down, we kind of sift it down into one of two things, which makes it very simple. We think, is that, and no matter what it is that fear based or is that love based? It All of our human nature is wired to go one way or the other. So say
Yes.
for example, you said to yourself, I'm going to wear a really bright color to this podcast.
Yeah.
And that could be either, so what's my belief behind that? Is it like I want to stand out because I don't feel seen or heard, right? You kind of go that
Right.
direction. That's fear-based. Love-based
Yeah.
is I love pink and I love orange and it makes me happy, and it was my happiness that brought me
Yes.
to this. So that's love-based, right? And so this book's really awesome. And then with my sister, we went through that. We like drilled it down. I created kind of like a little series of talks around it to get us to really dissect that and make it stick. If we could think about
Yes.
things that are actually going on in our lives and our thoughts and our feelings, and knowing that when we have those positive or negative thoughts, then we start attracting more of that, right?
Absolutely. And I think even by you doing that exercise, you're elevating everyone's emotional intelligence and awareness around it
Yes.
too. So, yeah, which is so
Yes.
important because I think that piece could even be missing in like the leadership side of things too.
It is. It really is, and it leads me to, we talked about this one business. I've had many, many businesses, and
Yeah.
one of them was a healthy food business, which a client bought of mine, which was like, "Hey, Tony, I would love to buy your food business." And I'm like, "Perfect timing. It's been 12
Amazing.
years. I need to
I'm
I need to shift. I'm tired of lugging 50-pound bags of oats in a commercial kitchen." Awesome. It's like
amazing. Perfect timing.
perfect timing. And so I started looking at, individuals, right? As you and I are individuals, and everyone listening, there are individuals, but we're also part of our family, our community, and a business of some sort. Most of us are
Yes.
working, whether we own that business or not. And so I started thinking about, okay, how do we really shift this vibration? And by the way, before I even got on this call, I'm like, my intention is to help everybody shift their vibration, to elevate it, no matter what they get out of this, that it's elevated in some way. And so I thought, okay, well, if work with companies, which I have a lot of experience doing that in the past, I thought, what's a great way? What's going to be ahead of the curve? And that is to help these companies in the United States and worldwide, but
Yeah.
specifically starting in the United States, because a lot of us are right now in the US beaten down, exhausted, overwhelmed, emotionally exhausted, frustrated,
Yeah.
scared. You can go through these things, and so, based on the politics, based on the things
Right.
that are going on, which I will specifically say, I don't agree with what's going on. I didn't elect the person we have as president
Right.
right now. I'll say that very boldly because I used to not, and
Yeah.
now I'm like we're beyond that. We need to speak
Right.
our minds. We need to use our
Use your
voices as
voice,
women,
which so often we don't. Yep.
which so often we don't,
Yeah.
but I am, and I'm realizing that, these companies, whether they're managed by women or men, we're going to need some help to recalibrate and realign after a lot of this damage
Right.
that's
And
being
stripping
done.
of things has happened. Yep.
Yes, in terms of helping people manage their energy,
Yeah.
and knowing that the health of the company, which is so important for everybody, for their welfare, for their employment,
Yes.
for supporting their families, is it comes down to the individual wellness. And so if I can get companies to start shifting out of the old belief systems and the patriarchy, because that's still there in a lot of
Yeah.
companies, and start working with more emotionally intelligent, aligned CEOs that can help consciously make shifts in their companies based on what their teams are really in need of. And there are so many
Yeah.
companies, I've been helping companies for a while with their wellness. I know you have too. We have a lot in
Yeah.
common.
Yes.
And, and I think that if we can start doing that in a really conscious way, then we can make these companies even more prosperous and aligned and have the energies like completely in alignment with each other. And these, a lot of companies, they'll just say, okay, we need to incorporate these wellness initiatives. We are
Right.
going to do a retreat every year. We're going to do, whatever it is. We're going to bring in
Yeah.
somebody to talk about. And some of it's just like so that they can just check
I
the
was just gonna say
box.
they're just checking a
Check
box, a lot of it. Yep.
they're checking the box, and oh, we were voted best employee
Best in
driven.
incentive, and we had the best wellness program, and yeah. Yep.
Right, all of that, and all that's great, but does it really get to the employee feeling emotionally safe in their job, to
Yeah.
speak their voice, to throw out new ideas, to be part of the growth and the direction of a company? And is that CEO grounded enough and secure enough in his or her own authenticity and right, and
Yes.
their mission for the company, that they're willing to say, okay, let's bring in someone who can help us see if we're in alignment or not.
Yes. So this is so beautiful because I feel like you've gone completely full circle from like
Yeah.
how you left like corporate and the way you were treated to now you're going basically back in to shift that culture.
Yeah, I'm gonna show them how it's done.
Exactly. You're like, this is how I was treated. This is like, let's shift this mindset. Let's shift the environment. Let's shift the culture. Let's shift the way people are feeling and feeling undervalued and
Hmm.
really elevating it for everybody. And I think that's such a beautiful thing how you've completely gone full circle here.
Thank you. I didn't even realize I had done that until you mentioned it. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so true. To me, it's just a natural evolution
It is.
of the things that I love to create. That's so funny.
Yes, but it's funny. And again, it just kind of goes back to like our path that we're on, right? Like it just, you're still going, moving and putting the one foot in front of the other. And then it's just like you said, a natural evolution. When you're ready to sell, the food company, it was perfect. You can step into the next thing. So yes, I love that. So we kind of talked briefly about how, like, as women, we're holding it all. We're doing this for the family, we're doing this for the business. So, for women who are balancing it all, growth, leadership, life, like, what kind of advice would you have for them for as they're trying to support it all?
I think it's to release themselves from the notion that we have to prove something to somebody, that we have to be more somehow, that we have to outperform everybody else, outdo, that we have to sacrifice, that life has to be hard, that we can't have it all that's BS. It is completely not true. And we've been told that. We've been spoon fed that from a long time. I didn't raise
Yes.
my kids that way. We have 4 kids and they're all grown. They're 26 through 38 now. And they are in amazing jobs. One's my oldest daughter's a San Jose police officer. One's a school principal. One's an AI,
Yeah.
and one's a tattoo artist.
Yeah.
They went their own ways, is to really like find their own joy, allow yourself quiet so that you know who you are, so you can step into your authenticity. Like really focus on yourself first, and then take action that's in alignment with who you know you are. And I'm here to help women remember who the heck they are. That's a big
Yes.
part of what I do. And it could be that, who they are as a leader, it could be who they are as an independent contributor. It doesn't matter what we do. What matters is our
Right.
heart. And I
Yes.
want women to know that, like, and to support each other. And when I was in some of my businesses, not in my businesses, but I'd see in other people's businesses how women
Yeah.
would have to kind of try to step over each other. And it's like, no, we lock arms together now, and we bring each other along and we help each other,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
And part of that's my generation, but part of that is really still fostered. And so it's to not be in, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not a competition. We I believe we are all connected, we are one, and we need to stand up for each other in a really big way, especially right now.
Yeah.
And I was telling you before we even got on this, one of the things that I love, is being an American. I'm one of the sane Americans.
Yeah.
I'm one of the many sane Americans out there. Many, 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 more than
Yes.
the world knows, is that I really appreciate other countries and the women that have stood up for us, and because they know what we're going through.
Yeah.
And I've been on threads quite a lot, and I just see all these Canadian women saying, "We still love you. We know you're
Yes.
not you're not your politics." I'm like, "Oh, thank
Yes.
goodness." So it makes me feel so good, and I know so many people that feel this sense of camaraderie and sisterhood.
Yeah. And you
Um,
bring up a good point of people like being around community and more like-minded people. Like when you're in those moments of frustration or things aren't going the way as expected and you're kind of in the trenches right now, unfortunately, with everything, like bringing around like-minded people and having those open conversations to like help elevate your own consciousness and feelings as well, too.
Yes, and when we can do that on an individual level, we can bring that to our companies, right? And it
Yes.
doesn't matter where we work in the company, our energy, our light helps to elevate everybody else around us. The CEO of this one company that I'm working with, and it was so funny because I wasn't even trying, Amy. He said, "Tony, I do business so differently now and nurture the company culture so differently now because of you." And I was really surprised. This was about a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
And I'm like, really? That's just so phenomenal to hear. And so for women also, we don't know our ripple,
I was just
right?
gonna say the ripple effect that you have and how amazing that is, and to hear that feedback, a year and a half later, even from him. So if that's what he's recognized, I could just imagine, the other employees and people that are working there, like their thoughts and the impact that it's had on them as well.
Yeah, it's so inspiring because they inspire me. They think
Yes.
I inspire them, they inspire me. Like without people who would be open to it. And it's not that I'm shifting anyone's beliefs, it's that you and I attract people who are ready to listen, to implement more, to be on this journey. We're light showers, way showers, whatever you want to
Yes.
call it, light workers, and it's just bringing people along. And if we can show that we can do this, it might give someone else the opportunity to say, you know what, Tony was on this podcast, she expressed her opinion, she was unapologetic, she stands strong in her light and her morals, I
Yes.
can too, right? And I've
Yes.
had women do that for me without them knowing it all the time.
Yeah.
Right, all the time.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
So I want to talk a bit about too. You have I think multiple books, but kind of two of the books I think that you're working on is the one, The Humanity Project, and the other one is The Rise of the Energetic Executive. Yeah.
Yes,
So can you share a little bit
exactly.
about those books with our listeners too?
Oh my gosh, yes. So, the Humanity Project is based on a talk I gave at a theater about a year and a half ago, and it's the 10 commitments. So, there are 10 things that we can do to just help make the world a better place. It's about elevating humanity. And it's everything from, and they're all positioned in terms of making a commitment, like to Mother Earth, and then I am a steward of Earth, right? I turned everything into an I am affirmation. And so these are
Love
really
that.
powerful things. So that's one book. And then the other book is Rise of the Energetic Executive. And this is for anybody that leads a team or an HR or a CEO or VP or
Yeah.
any of those people. And even if you're just in a community that you're leading or a
Yeah.
family that you're leading, we are all leaders in one shape or form.
Yeah.
And so this book's really about helping people lead with heart, with energy and coherence. And I talk about how the head is connected to the heart, which is connected to our gut, and how,
Yes.
we once we use our consciousness and our awareness to connect these things, we are so powerful beyond what anyone ever told us we could be.
Yes.
And so this book is in development, the Humanity Project's in development. And then I'm also doing a third book. I've written two others and I've got three in the works right now.
Yeah.
I added one since you and I last talked.
Oh,
And
so fitting because you're giving so much value to the world. So of course you've added another one.
oh,
Yes.
it's just, yeah, just, just this creation. So another one is embracing your journey, and it's for teens,
Oh,
particularly teen girls. And it
yes.
goes into, setting boundaries and their intuition and
Yeah.
their authenticity, all the things that we've talked about and things that I've taught my three adult girls
Yeah.
as well. And so that one's great. It also, to back up, The Rise of the Energetic Executive, it is a guidebook for people who want to be involved in this new program that I am calling the Harmony called it calling Harmony IQ.
Okay.
And it's essentially a platform that I'm developing. It's in production progress right now. I have my technical team working on it, and I have a pilot client right now. And what I'm doing is I'm taking leadership with holistic wellness,
Yes.
intuition, and AI. And I'm combining these into helping companies figure out, are they in alignment with their mission? Are they in alignment with where they want to be? Are they in alignment within each other? So I have these surveys that I roll out. And so for the
Yeah.
CEO level, there's a survey there. And for the middle management and for the team's independent contributor um, level or group. And so I'm asking them all these questions about all of these things, about their energy, about their resources, about technology, about their emotional safety in the
Yeah.
workplace. And once this is done, then I can compare and I can say, oh, does the CEO think everyone feels emotionally safe, but these people that are in this particular team, they don't feel emotionally safe. That's a big
Yeah.
disconnect. So,
Huge.
so what I'm doing is I'm showing companies what they're doing right, where they can emphasize to keep on that path, and then
Yeah.
what might be out of alignment. So it does take a secure CEO and
To
board of
be open
directors to
to,
want to bring
yeah,
this in.
totally. Yeah. But I
It
think again,
does.
it shifts that. And I think it takes people having that awareness that something needs to shift. And if we want to
Hmm.
continue to grow and scale our company or continue to have amazing employees there, then you want to make sure that the culture and the environment are aligned with that too.
Exactly, exactly. And it's in everybody's best interest. And it comes back to the individuals. Are they being taken care of?
Yes.
Our energy is our greatest resource, right? And our people are the ecosystem of the business. And so,
Yes.
if we want to retain people, if we want people to, when they exit interview, leave a good interview, post something on Glassdoor that's positive, right? Maybe,
Yes.
and when people are out of alignment, that's fine. It could be that they've shifted and grown, and there's something else on their life path that is meant for their soul to go explore. That's perfectly great. It's companies that really want to see how can we be in better alignment, because every company, no matter how conscious they are, there's always some misalignment because things move and
Yes.
change all the time, and we grow as individuals. And so I think the more that we can have conscious management,
Yes.
then we can fully support the employees at a much greater level,
Yes.
much greater.
And I love
Yeah.
that you're embracing AI because I know some companies or some people like kind of shy away from some of that. But I think, like, again, you're bringing what's happening in today's world with AI and you're just elevating it by also bringing in like the energetics, which have always been around, but people have kind of like pushed that aside. So it's like, let's combine the two and continue to elevate as well.
It is. It's really an interesting combination, Amy, because yes, a lot of people are like, AI, that's scary. Well, if you use it in the right way, guess what? It can crunch your analytics like nothing can. You
Yes.
know, it's just a time saver for me. And then I can look at that and
Absolutely.
say, okay, what's my intuitive spin on this? Where am I seeing misalignments? Like, I know things that the CEO that I'm working with right now does not understand
Yes.
because of my intuition. Right? And
Yep.
so, and being in touch with all the different people there. So yeah, it can be used really positively, and at some point it can also um, analyze like intonation and if someone's being fear based, or and you know what I
Right.
am not going to do, the one thing I'm going to stay away from, I am not going to use it to single out people in any way, whether it's
Yeah.
positive or whether it's to target a specific individual. This
Yeah.
is all teams based. So, and
Yes.
it's anonymized, which means that
Yes.
nobody needs to be fearful, concerned at all. I use it, and I'm also creating this garden wall platform where it's open AI, but it's
Yeah.
this information is not going to be accessible to anybody, and I'm going to bring
Right.
it in alignment with the strategic plans. So so anyway, it's in process. We're starting to
Yeah.
work it. I've got my pilot company. I'll have information probably by the time this
This
is
comes out. Yeah. So
aired
cool.
for
Yeah.
people. Yes. And I know that you and I can certainly work in alignment as well with some of the complementary things
Yeah.
that we do with companies, because it's everything's supplemental. We all have our unique gifts and takes
Gifts.
on things,
Yes.
right?
Yes, absolutely. So I just wanted to share really briefly too with our listeners that you also have a podcast
Ah,
called Humanity Matters. Is that
yes,
correct? Yes.
yes.
That's amazing. So I love that you've got a skill
Yes.
of everything. So it's so fitting given like what you've been sharing, today about your heart and how you're raising the consciousness and raising humanity and the Humanity Project book that you're also writing as well too. So is that something that you've had for like a while as well, the podcast, or can you share maybe a little bit about that?
Yes, I would love to. Thank you. Yeah, so the podcast I started, I think it was probably during COVID, and it was just a way to connect people and to start recognizing what's going on in the world around us.
Yeah.
And that was a really hard time for people, a really
Yes.
hard time, and it was pretty much worldwide, right? And
Yes.
so, yeah. So, I mean, I started that, and I also started a Facebook group called Group Hug, just to get people together and
Oh,
to be able to educate. And, I don't do as great of a job on the podcast as I'm not as consistent like you are. I will do something, and when I feel inspired, I do it again. It's not a main push for me, but
yeah.
it is something that I have a lot of listeners, and they'll go on, and I have many, many on there, but
Yeah.
and just not as like I don't drop one every week or every other
That's
week.
okay. But you've got amazing like inspiration and content out there to share. And again, it goes back to I think your heartfelt of like if you need it sounds like if you need a hug or if you need some support, like there's some inspiration there for
Yeah,
people as well too.
exactly. I do try to make my content as accessible to people as possible. So, like
Yeah.
my Sparkle on Sisterhood, it's like $12 a month because I don't want that to be a barrier to
Mm.
anybody joining. And it just covers the cost of the platform, right? And
Yeah.
so, a lot of what I do, yeah, the business side is the income side, and then the things I do with individuals, like I offer retreats and I offer all kinds of. I do a little, not as much Reiki and that kind of thing. I feel like my voice is part of the healing process, and
Yes.
so while I know qigong and reiki and energy healing and tuning forks
Yeah.
and sound bowls, I will incorporate those things into my retreats, and all those I just do to kind of break even to make
Yeah.
myself accessible to people. And so yeah, I love doing both. It, excuse me, sometimes feels like it's a little split
Yeah,
between
but
the two, right?
it's also filling your cup, I think, too, though, right? Because it still gives you that
Yeah.
you're doing both that you love, but it's like this is like not a main income driver. It's like, filling your cup, allowing you to
Hmm.
like give to the community kind of thing too. So I think that's
Yeah,
beautiful.
totally. It brings
Yeah.
me joy. And then people that I work with in companies, sometimes they come around to some of these
Yes.
things if they want further, further exposure. If like the company, I'll do like a retreat every 6 months for them. But some people are like, well, I would like to do something a little more often than that. So yeah, all that's been really good. It's
Yeah.
fun. It does bring me joy for sure.
That's amazing. Well,
Yeah.
Tony, we have shared so much today. So thank you so much for being
Oh,
here. I appreciate the work that you're doing, the light that you're shining, and the way that you're really elevating leadership within companies as well as individuals. So thank you so much for being here. I'll be sure to include in the show notes, how people can connect with you and find you. Did you have any kind of last parting words you wanted to share with our listeners?
Only to thank you and to acknowledge you for the light that you bring. And this has probably been my favorite interview. I do a fair amount
Oh,
of
thank
podcast
you.
interviews, and I really love it. You have a beautiful heart, beautiful light, and I just want to just support you and everything that I'm tearing up. Everything that you are sharing, because it's really quite beautiful and so needed right now. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. I
Yeah.
received that, so thank you.
Oh, good. Received.
Yes, thank you.